Welcome back. Today I thought we'd do a video on why we will never return to the UK, by choice anyway. I've got really strong opinions on this, and for people that follow us, I'm sure you already know what a lot of them are, and I've never been in love with the UK. However, Selena was always, until the moment we left, the UK's amazing, it's fine, I love it here, while spending 90% of her time out of the country.
Exaggerated that. I've never called the UK amazing, but I was far more content.
Rather than me go into the reasons why I would never return, maybe we'll ask Selena why she would never return to the UK, considering she didn't actually have a problem with it in the first place.
I think it's mainly because when you're living in the UK, you accept that the way life is okay and it's good enough, essentially. And there were lots of benefits. Also for me personally, my reasons were very selfish in that things career-wise was going well for me. So I was just fine with my situation. But what I recognize is that you can still have all of that, but have better living conditions overall. And I've now appreciated, now I'm out of the UK, that there is, and this is going to sound very controversial, something severely wrong with the attitude of the UK in general.
I think I know where you're going with this, but explain what you perceive as what's wrong with the UK's attitude.
Mine is more of a perspective of seeing how people can be when you're not living there. So for me to explain, now that I'm not there, I realise that a lot of people just accept what is and accept the salary, standard of living, the healthcare system, the taxes, the fact that people can be entitled to get stuff despite how hard you're working. I also have a very different perspective on success. In the UK, people are fine if you're this underdog doing well for a bit, but the moment that you are actually succeeding, no, you've gone too far now. Actually, let's just take some away from you because that's not good. Whereas here, I can honestly say in the short time we've been here, people really push for that. People want people to be successful. Of course, there's always the people that just hate people no matter what, and that's everywhere. But generally, there is a culture here of wanting people to succeed. And I never really understood the ideology of the American dream until we lived here. They actually live and breathe that. Now, not everyone, I'm not saying, but just in our experience, that is part of their culture here. Whereas, what is the British dream?
That's a good point. I think I can answer that because you have ended up where I've pretty much always been since, conscious of being conscious that you don't have to live where you're born or stay where you're born. For me, it's the British dream is really skewed. It's this fine is good enough. And I would say fine is probably too good, because I think at the point that you get to that level where you're okay, there is this attitude of lots of people, you're doing too well and it's not fair. Their thing when they say it's not fair has nothing to do with fairness. What they're actually saying is, you're doing something and I want the reward and the benefits of what you're doing, but I don't want to do what you're doing. Therefore, I'm going to vote or talk in a way that tells you you're wrong for doing okay. It's a really twisted view. Again, I know you've kind of said this, with the US, it isn't to say everything's perfect or the American dream is even achievable, but it's an idea, it's a concept that we definitely don't have. We have, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through 20 years of schooling and you're gonna become a nurse and you're gonna make 25 grand and you're gonna complain about making 25 grand and not being able to afford your life until you die. That's kind of the dream. Because if you get a job and you have that, people are like, oh, we're doing okay.
Can't complain.
That is the British dream. The US, however, it's so different. You see it, we talk about sports a lot, but it's one of the things that kind of opens your eyes. They really do root for people to succeed, and you can see it in the structure of everything they do. Now, of course, there's fallout where people don't succeed, whereas the UK is don't do too well. If everybody's just suffering enough, that means we're all the same, except for the people that had already made it. So the elites are one class of people and everybody else is stuck in pain.
And that's the thing, because I never really understood the difference in the UK with the people that had true generational wealth. And for them, it doesn't really matter what's going on in the UK.
Oh yeah, their politics doesn't apply.
Yeah, they just do their own thing. But everyone else is just lumped into this category where the range of your quality of life isn't that different. Whether you're working and supposedly earning a good income in the context of the UK, or you're not and you're living on benefit, as an example, which I know people will say, no, that's not true how we live. But if you come here, you will see the true range of how different people can live.
Yeah, and I'm sure for a lot of the British people that end up watching this, that to them is something they don't like, even the feeling of, well, it shouldn't be like that. But that is the problem with the British attitude, because all of those people make it really difficult and challenging for the people who do want to do well. Because the idea in England is, well, there shouldn't be people living this amazing life when there are other people suffering. Sure, you could take that view, but look at where England is at the moment. Every single person, it's like this place has gone to hell. It's horrible. Every part of it, the healthcare, the transport, the roadworks, the traffic, the cost of living, the salaries. You could just keep going with it. Nobody's having a good time. So that attitude that British people maintain has led you to where you are now, which is the total opposite. And I mean, you can look into the figures of this. The US is one of the only countries that have gone the other way in terms of them coming out of the pandemic versus a lot of the European countries. But that attitude of the US has led them to where they are now, and you may disagree with it, but we don't. We kind of like it. And the attitude of British people of don't let anybody succeed and we'll all suffer in this together has led you to where you are.
And the bit I want to add to when I talk about that range from whether, let's say, you're living on benefits or you're working, it's the fact that no one's happy no matter where you're at, because we're watching these debates on TV in the UK quite a lot, and you get people at every end of the spectrum, people that are trying to run businesses, people that are struggling to get a job, as an example. Whatever category you're in, no one's happy with their circumstance. So it's fine if you were, but all I hear is people complaining.
Yeah.
And then it's creating this huge divide, because you've got people at one end feeling like there's not enough being done for them because of how they're having to live. And you've got others at the other end that feel that they're really struggling and they're inputting into the system. And then they're becoming more and more annoyed and angry at the situation.
With the whole system. Yeah, I think that's a key point actually, is the people that are trying in the UK are struggling as a minimum, and in some cases struggling as much as the people who aren't trying, which to me is a massive problem with the system. The people here trying and succeeding in their trying are doing infinitely better than you could ever imagine in the UK. And for me, I prefer the idea of the chance. So that American dream of it is achievable. It doesn't say you are guaranteed the success or you're guaranteed to achieve it. It is possible. The idea that you can make it out of it, I think, is probably the most encouraging thing. And being in the UK, even though I was not a fan of it, I couldn't really, just like you, I couldn't really understand. It seems really kind of, I don't know what the word would be. It seems weird when people talk about the American dream. It seems cheesy and
it seems very cheesy.
Yeah, ridiculous.
What do they even mean by
yeah, but then when you're here and you see it and you understand it's this thing that's achievable that you can aim for. Whereas Selena nailed it. What is the British dream, really? And really, I think people should ask themselves that. What is the British dream? What do you sell? What is the thing that you say to a child, here's what you're aiming for? I know what was told to me, and I know the people around me when you're like, you'll get a good job, meaning 35 grand a year, and you just stick that out. But that's not a dream. That's not something to aim for.
If you live to your pension.
That used to, I think I've said this in our early videos, one of the things that really made me feel ill in the UK was when I have mid-20 friends, 20-year-old friends, talking about their pension. They've just got to last it out till their pension.
And you have to live off that pension as if you're going to live that well, and then you'll be really old anyway, and then you've never really lived life. You've just been a slave all your life to the system.
It's literally, that's the British dream.
That is the British dream, and here it's different. So when we talk about the American dream, and the reason I made the comment about generational wealth of other people in the UK, they're in a different category. And even here, there are millionaires, billionaires. We're not talking about being that. We're talking about what's actually tangible for the average person here. And the American dream is just living life really well, the ability to have what I would say are luxuries in life, and also the fact that you can retire at a sensible age if you want to and actually enjoy life. Whereas in the UK, that's not an option. I know so many people that are in their 70s still working.
And I think as well, our friends, so if you take like for like friends who are, and these aren't, we're not picking from extreme ends, we're picking people who have gone to school, been educated, got themselves into a profession or a professional career. UK versus US, you have people on hundreds of thousands that will retire with millions in the bank or assets to people on tens of thousands if they're lucky.
Yeah.
But there's no different. We're not saying that people are different or less or more or less competent
or capable.
Exactly. It's just that is the system. And then that idea of, well, I'm just waiting for retirement is just soul crushing for me. So the people here aren't waiting for retirement and they're still getting to live right now, knowing that their retirement is going to be amazing, really, compared to a UK person. I'll have more money in retirement than a UK person will earn at the peak of their earning career, which is bizarre.
And in the short time that we've been here, we've met so many people that have retired and their retirement is amazing. I mean, they're going on trips, they're going on cruises, they've got this property here. And that would be someone that was super wealthy in the UK. These are normal, everyday people that just worked during their younger years, they had a decent salary, and that's what they were able to achieve. Whereas you're not meeting those types of people necessarily in the UK.
So that was a long rant and tirade. You can feel the passion, especially for me. I have to tone it down for the camera, really. If we were off camera having a conversation, you'd really hear
It'd
it.
be off.
But I guess kind of wrap that up, it's the overall attitude of a lot of the British people that we know, and I'm sure a lot of Britain, in terms of what we think is good and right, without measuring the outcome of what we try and follow through with. And I think Selena kind of summed it up with, nobody seems to be happy, which tells you overall we're doing something very wrong for the people that reside and are citizens of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, and I would add, and I know just because I'm predicting here, there'll be people from the US saying, yeah, no, we have issues here, we're not happy. We are coming from our perspective where we live, and if I think about where we are, we don't have the people around us complaining about things daily, whereas I only have to message people back home in the UK and they're just
100%
messaging.
hit rate with like anger. Even her mum, I don't ever message her mum. Her mum messages me the other day saying, just be grateful you're not in the UK, it's horrible, it's hell here.
I mean, she sent him a TikTok with a very explicit video of a man saying how much he hates the UK.
Something I really struggle with in the UK is it seems like it has real lack of direction and conviction in direction. As laid out by how many prime ministers have we had in the last 3 years?
5?
Somewhere around 5. We don't set out a path and a plan and execute on it. And I mean, even Brexit, if you think about it, I know they had to come out, but how long was that?
That was forever.
Forever. And it's this weird thing that I don't think we know what we're aiming for, and maybe it is because we don't have a British dream, that we are aiming for something and we can follow that direction. It's like we're firefighting all the time, and within that firefighting, nobody's happy. There is no success stories. It's just kind of running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah, I mean...
That's what it feels like.
I said this to Ant the other day. I just think it's very divided in the UK. And that's a fundamental problem when you can't align. And I'm not saying it's aligned here in the USA, but it's more so in the overall dream of what you want. Forget about your politics, religion aside. I don't think anyone would disagree about what the American dream should be. And even if we think about the healthcare system, everyone will say how wonderful the NHS is. They'll be clapping the NHS, but yet complaining every day that they can't get an appointment, that they can't get the surgery, that the wait list is really long. And again, it's another way that we're so divided because we think it's great, maybe because we were told it's great, but at the same time we often...
The actual outcome of it is we're all complaining. It's exactly like the other 2 points. We don't measure outcomes, we're just stuck in this weird... I don't know what it is, it's like bubbling up of feelings and emotions and attacking people. So people point the finger at other people because it's super easy. But it's a collective thing that we're not doing correctly. If we're all complaining that the outcome of our healthcare system is that we're moaning that we don't get appointments, we can't see the right doctor, we're having to book 2 weeks ahead. It's a collective decision that we've made as a country to make it a mess.
And Ant knows I do not think the US system for healthcare is perfect by any means. There are lots and lots of problems with US healthcare. However, our experience is actually better here than in the UK. Whenever we've needed an appointment, Ant had an issue, he had a virtual clinic, had his meds straight away. They dealt with my allergies super quickly. I know in the UK they would have just fobbed me off. Very thorough as well. The annual health checks that they do here. So our experience of the quality in healthcare, and apparently where we are at in Vegas is not very good, but it's been better than what we've experienced in the southeast of England. But I've been to see the doctors here a lot more than Anne, and my first few experience was, I literally sat there thinking, wow, the doctor introduced himself, gave me his background, what he's done. And I know for some of you who are watching this thinking, well, of course, because it's the insurance, they make money and everything. Irrespective of that, I was paying into the National Health Service and I did not get that level of service from my GP. Here, I feel like I actually have more of a relationship with the doctor and they're taking more interest in me versus what I ever got from the NHS.
The next one is anywhere where you would want to live in the UK in terms of having access to jobs and shops and having everything local to you and the doctors is going to be horrendously overcrowded. The population density in our cities, although compared to other parts of Europe, isn't actually that high, but compared to here is astronomically high. It isn't really apples to apples in the sense that I'm sure if you picked Manhattan and London, it's going to be maybe quite similar, but you don't have to pick Manhattan. That's the thing. You can pick tons of places that people really do want to live across the US that have fantastic services and infrastructure and great internet and access to jobs that aren't overpopulated. Where we are, oh no, we did get caught out in traffic when I think some of our friends were here, but generally you're never going to sit in traffic. I have access to all of the shops and all of the amenities that I need without having to spend my life really stressed out and just feeling like there's too many people around. It is the suburbs here, but it kind of still feels like a city because of our proximity to it.
And we had, I think we mentioned this in another video, and someone posted a comment that where they live in the UK they don't deal with traffic. But the problem with that is it's often somewhere that isn't close to where there's decent shops, restaurants, with the amenities that you want, shows. So here we've got a really good blend, and this isn't the only place in the US that's like that. So people's minds immediately go to these major cities that you have to be in, but here there's many more places.
And the final reason why we would never choose, or I would never choose to go back to the UK, is everybody that I speak to, they portray this feeling and idea of impending doom in the UK. Nobody's talking about anything positive. Nobody. It's all of everything is bad, everything is negative, and there's just no way out. And I think it comes back to that, what is the dream that people are aiming for? And I don't think they have one, so there is nothing to aim for, so you're just stuck in the moment. It's like Groundhog Day every day. And the idea that the people around me would be like that would drag me down as well, because you do get swallowed up into the surroundings that you have, or at least I do.
I fully get that. When I was living there, when we were living there, I was traveling a lot, so I was escaping every single week. And I think that was the difference why I didn't have that feeling, because every week I had somewhere new to look forward to, different place, different people. I think if I was in England 24/7, it would have been different.
So I think that's a rant. It's just like getting it off our chest. Yeah, it's cathartic. Yeah, a little bit different. Usually we do the 5 things or 10 things, and it's quite, I hope, quite coherent usually. That's probably not as coherent, but hopefully it resonates with some people. And what I personally would like to see, I don't usually read comments, but I will in this video, is how you feel, especially if you're from the UK. How do you feel living there? Are there people out there that do have a British dream, and what is it?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah,
and it's to get out. The British dream is to
That's
leave.
the British. Do you know what? That's always been the British dream. Why did the Brits take over the world? That's always been the British dream.
This isn't the island. There's another place for us.
In fact, most of the people here are British of some. Yeah. Damn it. There was a British dream. Yes. Leave your comments below as to what, if you do, what you like about the UK, what your British dream is, and for our American viewers that disagree that there is an American dream, let us know why. Thanks for watching.